Telcoin and Quickswap communities. On behalf of the Telcoin team, welcome to V3. Today, I had the opportunity to sit down with Roc, CEO of Lunar Digital Assets. He's also an advisor to Quickswap and a general leader within the Polygon community who's transformed what was virtually a zero liquidity marketplace at the beginning of the year to over $1 billion marketplace powering hundreds of millions of daily trading volume, permissionlessly 24/7, 365 to anyone who has access to an internet connection. I had the opportunity to learn a ton about Roc's background, which is how this interview starts off. And then we really dive into Quickswap, Telcoin and Quickswap, Quick the token, and how can Telcoiners and Quickswap Dragonites really collaborate to empower billions of people around the world and power global user-owned exchange products that operate at a fraction of the cost instantly. All of your questions will be answered afterwards in our joint community AMA, and please tag TelXQuick if you have any questions that haven't been sent to Twitter at this time. I look forward to answering them, and we're just generally incredibly excited to be at this exact moment in history where we believe we can all collaboratively impact positively the lives of billions of people. Thank you so much. I look forward to your questions after our interview.
My first introduction to digital currencies was actually through video games in like 1999, I think, or 2000. I was playing a game called EverQuest, and we would get platinum in this game, which, you know, digital currency. It wasn't crypto, you know, it was centralized currencies, really centralized digital currencies. I guess you could say the first centralized digital currencies before even the CBDCs now. Yeah. But we were selling this platinum in this game online for real US dollars to a lot of different people, but some of them were Brock Pierce from EOS and then Jonathan Yantis from Wax. And we would sell them like bulk of this platinum, and they would then break it down because they were actual platinum sellers and, you know, gold sellers on games. And we were just, you know, some young kids trying to make money. And so we would sell them these large amounts, and then they would break it down and sell it on their websites or whatever. And then later on, they became IGE, Internet Gaming Entertainment, which I don't remember how much they became worth, but I think they were moving hundreds of millions of dollars in like gold on World of Warcraft, which was a copy of EverQuest. But we won't get into that. Yeah, so that kind of opened my eyes to digital currencies. That was a really cool little experiment. You know, as a young kid, I was like 13 or 14, selling these digital currencies. And my mom was freaking out because I had like computers being shipped to the house, and she was like, "What is going on?" One day, my my lawyer at the time called my house, and my mom said, he asked, you know, where I was, and she said, "He's in school right now. Who's this?" And he said, "This is his lawyer." And she was like, "He's 13 or 14 or whatever. How does he have a lawyer?" And so that was, you know, fun early times. So yeah, that kind of opened my eyes. I know I've seen like Brock Pierce in interviews say the same thing, that really, when he found Bitcoin, it wasn't, it was like native to him almost. You know, we had sold digital currencies for real dollars. We understood that there was value in digital, right? And as a young guy who like played video games and was doing things, you know, early on the internet, I got it. I saw that the world was going digital. So when I learned about Bitcoin in 2015, I just fell down the rabbit hole. I spent the next, you know, 6 years until now, just every day, all I do is, you know, crypto. So I wake up to a podcast and I fall asleep to a podcast. I leave the podcast on in the background while I sleep. Like sometimes my girlfriend gets annoyed, so I just put headset on. I mean, I don't even know if I can fall asleep without a podcast on now. But so, you know, this is what I eat, breathe, and sleep, literally. And it's what makes me happy. It's what gives me fulfillment in life. Yeah, so that was the early days. Then I met Sandeep in, well, first I joined a company called Lunar Digital Assets. And then 3 years or 4 years later, I became CEO. And then I met Sandeep in New York at Consensus, and I just could tell instantly this guy was brilliant. I met him at a hackathon for one of our other clients, and I told my team we've got to land this project. These guys are amazing. This guy's brilliant. I had talked to some of my deep tech coder friends, and they said that the tech was really good, but that it was still needed like the marketing push. It needed people to understand it, and so we joined Matic as their marketing partner. And gosh, I think when we started, their Twitter was like maybe 7,000 or 10,000 followers, and I checked yesterday, it was at 500,000. So I was, that's a proud moment to see how far they've come. And so it was kind of a natural fit when Polygon saw that they didn't have a really strong DEX yet. They basically came to us and said, look, these devs want to do this Quickswap thing. Actually, it didn't even have a name yet. They wanted to do this DEX, and they wanted to link us up with them, Lunar Digital Assets, to do all the marketing and business development and a lot of that kind of stuff. And so we joined, and it's been a crazy ride. I think the lowest the token ever was 67 cents, and now we're at around $500. So at one point we were over 1,000x. But a lot of that is just because it started from zero, because we it started so low, not zero, but whatever the market decided it would be, because we did no token raise. We raised no funds, took no investors. We did a fair distribution. So it started so low that instead of VCs getting, the advantage and dumping on the retail guys, it was the retail, the community who was able to get all the advantages. So all the tokens that went into existence were from liquidity farming, other than, I think 3.25%, which went to the team. So we raised no funds, and we only took 3.25% to team and advisors, including Matic. Matic got 1%, and they just decided to give it all to the community. That's how I came to Quickswap.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most exciting things about building on Quickswap is this sort of real grassroots community growth that has just happened as a result of people participating and providing each other value in a decentralized way, and just incredible that 97% of Quick tokens are earned for providing services to the network. So how do you sort of, when you think about obviously in terms of using Quickswap, it's fast, it's affordable, instant execution, settlement, delivery, and all those value props that really differentiate it versus layer one AMMs. What is the sort of value to someone who wants to go in and say pool their their Quick versus their ETH, or and how does one sort of go from I hold those assets to I want to become a liquidity provider? How do you think about that?
So, I mean, one of the cool things about crypto versus the traditional finance world is that, instead of your money just sitting in a bank where it collects nothing, I mean, literally nothing now, your savings account. I remember when I had, when I was in the mortgage industry, gosh, like 16 years ago or something, or 15 years ago. I remember having a savings account, ING, the orange savings account, and I remember getting like 5%, on my savings. And now, if you have a savings account, it's like 0.01 or something stupid. Like it's nothing. And the worst part about that is that doesn't account for the crazy inflation we're seeing. So the cool thing about crypto is that we have options now. It's not manipulated by central bank policy and the Fed and their inflation and their manipulated low rates. So you can take your currency and do things with it and try to collect interest. And there's obviously risks with that. When you don't have the government holding your hand, it's an open free market, and there's more risks, but obviously more reward. I'm a libertarian, so I believe that's how it should be. people should be allowed to take their own risks. We shouldn't hold people's hands and tell them what they can or cannot do, or that they're too stupid to, make their own decisions. I hate that stuff. Like the accredited investors, rules. It's so ridiculous that we try to sit here and tell people, no, we're doing this to help you, but we're accredited though. We'll go make the money on the early rounds, but no, you just wait until we've already made the money and we'll dump on you. It's just such a backwards, sad system. So it's great that we're rebuilding all of this from the ground up. So you can take your cryptocurrencies and do different things with them. You can go to Aave and, lend your money to a pool, and then other people borrow from that pool against it. And it's just a free market, rate is created. You can come to Quickswap, which is, we came from Uniswap. We're a fork of Uniswap, which they just created the most clearly just like this incredible incentive system where people come and provide liquidity and they get a portion of the fees that are traded with that liquidity. It's like, and in the traditional world, nobody would ever think something like this would work. Like, so you're going to basically be a market maker that will take either side of the trade at any price, and then just collect fees from it. It's like such a weird thing, but mathematically it just, and in practicality it works. And so you provide liquidity, and you risk the impermanent loss of someone buying or selling one side of the pair, because you're willing to take either side of the trade, but you get the trading fees. So very similar to, any exchange, at Binance, you've got CZ and his team. They built the exchange, they collect the fees, they split them how they see fit. Well, with Quickswap and other DEXs, AMMs, the community gets it. So you and I provide liquidity to a pair, and then whoever trades on it, we get the fees. So we're all little mini CZs, and that's a pretty cool thing to be, kind of part owners of the exchange, in a way.
That really hits hard at the core of what I truly believe is the sort of real disruptive, the thing that ends up disrupting the entire financial system itself is this concept of user-owned, financial systems and services and products. And that's probably one of the things that drew me the most to Quickswap initially, beyond, the fact that, it costs, 1/millionth of an Ethereum layer 1 transaction to do a trade on Polygon, is that 98% of your tokens go to people who participate, and the users govern the system. And that design space, it's just incredibly disruptive. And then at the end of the day, you still control your assets. You don't have to give them to anyone, and you get to earn
another benefit.
Yeah. The one area that I always get concerned about is people kind of saying, well, if I put my TEL and my ETH in a 50-50 pool and market make against them, like I ended up with less TEL than I would have had, or ETH. And, there definitely needs to be a lot of sort of education, which is one of the core things that we're trying to do and bootstrap that globally, is teaching people the risks and how they can participate, and then letting them do their own thing. So in terms of Quickswap if you think about it, it's the fastest growing financial market in the world, right? I mean, you guys had how much liquidity at the beginning of this year?
Well, 9 months ago we had zero. So, we went from zero to a billion in, about 9 months or so.
And you
10
went
months, maybe
20 million to like 250 in like 2 weeks or something, right? I mean,
yeah. And then we went from 500 million to over a billion in like a month.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. Yeah. It's crazy to be a part of, we've really worked hard though. I mean, it is a community run project and community government project, but, and we actually thought early on that we would be able to step away a lot earlier. We thought, okay, we'll create this fork, we'll get the rewards going, and then we'll walk away. The community will manage it. But it was like we quickly figured out that it wasn't possible. If we walked away, it wouldn't grow like it is, because we're hiring a lot of people. We're we're constantly doing BD. A lot of the work is BD, a lot of it's marketing. So we definitely want to push hard to try to start pushing more things to the community so that it can be kind of like self-run. That's obviously the number one like goal ultimately. But in the meantime, there's a lot that needs to be done. As people have seen, there's been tons of like UI bugs and RPCs and nodes getting overloaded because Polygon's growing so fast and the websites can't keep up with things. So it's like we're constantly trying to upgrade and make things faster, better user experience, easier to use for people, marketing, getting it out to tons of people. We're going to be doing a big push actually to Latin America. So I'd like to know more about what you guys are doing there. I know you guys are in El Salvador now, and I think you were telling me you are moving into Mexico. But yeah, I'd love to hear more about that because we're going to be pushing hard for that with, I hope everyone has seen everything that's happening with El Salvador and how Bitcoin Miami, they released the news from the president that they were going to be releasing this bill, and that bill quickly got passed with a super majority, 75%, that, Bitcoin is a legal tender in El Salvador. It's amazing. I think we should all like take advantage of that and push that movement forward. And I say take advantage, but like it's a good cause. So we need to all work hard towards this. So I love what you guys are doing. That's one of the things I like a lot about Telcoin project is that you guys are helping bring, this inclusivity to these developing nations who otherwise would be left behind and have been left behind.
Yeah. Well, so for us, like the general idea is that the telecoms mobile network operators have more users, somewhere around 5.3 billion users, than any other industry larger than any continent in the world. And, there's a significant amount of people globally across Africa, Southeastern Asia, Latin America, like you mentioned, that simply don't have access to solid financial products. We are, I've done a lot of meetings with like mobile monies and just general organizations that move money between these places. And I mean, there's examples in Africa where it actually costs 25% to move money in the same country from one person to another. And the alternative to the 25% is that you literally walk there because it's the only way that people can send money. And so, yeah, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
It's basically the entire world and all of humanity has been, taken. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but basically there's always middlemen that are rent seeking, and whether it's a king giving you protection or I'm reading The Sovereign Individual right now, and they talk about these these like noble, the nobles and the lords who would sometimes combat with the government if they had a bigger army, and it was like who's giving protection. It's like been a big protection racket for so long, and the same thing with like now once the world got onto these like more advanced money systems, they're still here. There's still rent seekers and middlemen taking a cut at every turn, right? And so and that's like some of that is okay, right? Like banks serve their need to an extent. Now there's a lot of weird, shady, and like monopoly and crony capitalism stuff that has happened for sure, but at the same time, banks did serve a need, right? People would prefer to use a bank, in somewhere than have someone come rob their house. Like there are benefits, but they were a necessity that are becoming much less relevant now, thanks to products like what you're doing, Bitcoin, Ethereum, DeFi in general. And so ultimately, we got to get to a place where really there are eventually no middlemen at all, right? Like I think we can get there with DAOs and just DeFi in general. And there will still be like people maybe collecting a fee, but it'll be like to the public and it'll be open and it'll be free market. It's okay to take a fee or charge for a service as long as the other person agrees to it and it's done in a fair free market way, in my opinion.
Right.
So like just like we said with Quickswap, people pay a trading fee, and that trading fee goes to liquidity providers. They're providing a service, and it's just so open and inclusive, and anyone can do it. You can do it because of the low Polygon gas fees. Someone can go literally be in a country where they earn, $1 a day or less some places. And I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Actually, I was in the Philippines, and I lived in the Philippines for like 3 or 4 months, and there were people telling me they were making less than 50 cents a day, for a hard day of work. It's crazy. So people like that make 50 cents in a day. Normally, you can't put that into a bank to earn interest. They'll laugh at you. You can't do anything with it. But using, Aave or Quickswap or these tools on Polygon that have no gas fees, basically, you can save your dollar and put it in, and that dollar is going to compound just like my $100 or your $1,000 or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a really, really, really powerful thing that's going to help, decrease the gap in lifestyle and happiness in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're, spot on. And that's one of the problems we're solving in terms of the idea that if you have $1 to your name, what type of fractional reserve lending bank is going to take that as a customer? What type of yield can one expect? From dollars and pennies, and what's the point of starting the business? And so telecoms have essentially been the perfect solution to that. They effectively have all the users in the world, and they have existing fraud and network infrastructure to distribute financial products and services. What they've had to do, and how we're sort of partnered with them in a lot of ways today, is they create these mobile money offshoots that are effectively, since they have to custody the assets on behalf of the users that go in and give their cash to a shop and then can move it around on their phone. That's been the sort of mobile money movement, is that you can bring cash in and send it to anyone who else, phone numbers all around the country. And so they've been perfectly positioned for that, but they've sort of had to create these offshoot companies that, where they custody the assets. And with Telcoin, effectively, because we're built on these non-custodial, decentralized financial systems, they don't have to take any custody risk. And in fact, can effectively enable them, they can effectively go direct to consumer with financial products without having to become a bank. And so, we sort of view that general evolution of banking for the developing world as something that, is a major opportunity. And in crypto, just naturally, because it's, self-custodial and decentralized, solves that problem. And so, our goal is effectively to build user-owned financial products and enable users to provide, liquidity to those and capture fees that they typically pay to financial institutions, while the sort of, in the case of the Send Money Smarter remittance network, they're sending a remittance anywhere in the world instantly without relying on any intermediaries at a fraction of the cost. And one interesting thing is, like, if you look at, the reason that a lot of remittance numbers are driven up so high in terms of the costs, the average remittance cost is 7.5%. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of people are trying to send, let's say, $25, $50 every 2 weeks, which, as we know with Forex, the minimum that you're going to be able to trade on the interbank market or through a liquidity provider is at least $1 million. And then you're paying 75 basis points, and it's going to take you T plus 3 days. And, on Quickswap and other AMMs on Polygon, the reality is actually the opposite, and that trading costs are determined by how much liquidity is in the pool. And if you have a lower trading size or a lower, remittance transfer size, the costs of doing that actually go down. And so,
right, because of reduced slippage, yeah.
Because reduced slippage. And so, when I started to sort of review AMMs and DeFi and really dive into it, I was like, we've got to we're in the best position in the world to build real productive user-owned financial products. and at what point does Western Union decentralize their Forex to their users and give away 100% of or 80% of what accounts for their profit margin today? And are they willing to do that? And then, how do they sort of chase someone like Telcoin, who's building a user-owned global remittance platform that, we don't take foreign exchange fees. We don't have that. We have transaction fees, but they're a fraction of others. And so, that's definitely been an incredibly exciting area, and one that, with this move with El Salvador, and the launch of the Rivendell network, and the sort of beginning of the bootstrapping phase for mobile network operators, I think in a similar way that we saw the institutional musical chairs happen, where everybody got in after Bitcoin went to 20K. I think we'll probably start to see that with actual nation states and central banks adopting this stuff. And
100%.
Yeah,
it'll happen.
Yeah, it's incredible to sort of see. And so, yeah, I mean, our plan right now, we're integrated with, I think 22 different mobile money service providers around the world. And, we're just going to keep building and integrating and enabling their customers to access, international and remittances and other DeFi products just at a fraction of the cost, and really include them in it. So, yeah, that's kind of our plan. Really excited to see where Rivendell and everything goes in terms of really bootstrapping those network operators. And, in the meantime, I think we've got some really fun products to launch that are live on Quickswap. And, we're just going to take it one day at a time. It's super easy to get, really caught up in a million things in this space.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are doing the right things, though. And we're really excited. It'll be great exposure for your community to get into the whole crypto industry. I mean, you guys have a huge audience, right? I mean, between all of your partners, what are you guys like? What's your reach?
Yeah, I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of millions for sure. I mean, Gcash, the total weekly, the weekly average users on Ethereum DeFi is somewhere around 210,000 people. And, our partner Gcash has 33.1 million users, and we're solving a real problem for them. And so I don't know what the reach ends up being a year from now in terms of, daily active, monthly active users, but it, in my view, is far beyond anything crypto sees today. And, because we're building in Quickswap and Polygon, and we're going to be able to drive real, small retail users who just want to benefit from better services and participate in something that, that they rely on, in their daily lives on both the supply and demand side. And so, I think that's probably one of the most exciting things, is that this stuff is real. It's here now. We're launching products on it. And a lot of it just comes down to building the community and helping them understand, how they can use things and participate. And so how do you guys think about, community generally? And then I'll kind of jump into how we're thinking about it, and, how our communities can sort of interact and participate.
So at Quickswap and, my company, Lunar Digital Assets, community is everything. I mean, it is what makes crypto. It's not about the code. It's about, the belief in the code and the people using it, and, who helps and how they rally behind things, even meme coins, like it's all about community. So, that's our focus always, is building community. I mean, a lot of that's through marketing and creating content. We're actually going to be doing a big push for specifically Latin America, starting pretty quick here, maybe in the next week or so. So yeah, we may be able to tell them about you guys as well. We're going to be doing a bunch of things, but a really big influencer push to these Spanish-speaking countries. So we've just had all of our documentation translated to Spanish, and we'll start releasing that soon. And then reaching out to, millions of people who actually need this stuff. I live here. I'm spoiled. I'm sitting here at my lake house in the US in California. And, I love crypto, but frankly, I don't need crypto. I have a bank account, right? I have lending services, I used, for example, like my Tesla, I used MakerDAO to create a loan for my Tesla, which was pretty cool. I didn't need to. I just did it because I thought it was cool. But there's people in the world that do need these things that aren't so spoiled like we are. Yeah, we're really excited to get this into the hands, just like you're doing, into the hands of the people who need it the most.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most exciting things to me generally is just this idea that we're building on top of a community-led, user-owned, decentralized system. And we have an existing community, and within the platform stack, virtually everyone who participates within that system either captures a sort of product or service and utility on the demand side, or can participate on the supply side, and it's a sort of totally inclusive system. And at scale, I think it would just be incredible to sort of see the Telcoin community and the Quickswap community begin to participate on each other's different applications, whether that be Latin Americans sort of driving to Quickswap via the Telcoin app and an easy to use interface on end user products, or Telcoiners going in and earning quick, and then helping govern the system and making it better for the Telcoin platform. And then eventually when we get to the decentralization of governance on our end over the next year, then to have drag knights come over and make our system better. And then you've got this totally inclusive, globally accessible and positive sum system that is just so much better in every way than the traditional financial system that you're like, how do they ever compete? And that's probably why we love this space so much, is because once you
to me it already basically eclipses the current financial system. I mean, what metric does it not? I mean, like maybe in adoption, but we'll get there. But every other metric, like interest rates and the types of things you can do, not having a surveillance state monitoring everything you do, and censoring transactions. I mean, like, I don't want to get political, but even I love America. I think it's the greatest country on the planet, but it's kind of crazy. I was watching Eric Voorhees, some of his interviews, one of my favorite guys in the space, but he's talking about it's kind of crazy that, like, Iran, for example, you can't do business with someone in Iran.
Right.
I don't know if people know this. You just, as any business, you cannot do business with someone in Iran. Doesn't matter if they're government or whatever. Like, that means if I want to sell someone, some shoes or whatever, and they're in Iran, because there's sanctions, we can't do that. So we're cutting off, probably 99% of their people are just good people, and they're not doing anything wrong, and they're not making nuclear missiles or anything, but we can't do anything with any of them. So that's kind of crazy to me. It's kind of sad. I think the U.S. maybe has gone a little far with taking advantage of our position in the world. And it's when you take advantage that you lose the power. We are the world reserve currency because people trusted us, after World War II. And we've been taking advantage of it, particularly recently with the massive inflation. And you can see countries moving away from the U.S. as their, preferred, money solution. And that hurts. That sucks. I'm in the U.S. I enjoy the benefits of that, and I'm okay with it though, because it's going to lead to a better world for everyone, anyways. But it's a bummer that the U.S. is going to lose some of our great advantages in the world because we're taking advantage. Right. We could have done the right thing and just kept inflation very low or at zero. I don't like inflation particularly. I think it's a kind of a scam in general, going back like thousands of years to like debasement, of coins in like the Roman Empire and things. But if we would have just kept it low and been responsible and been good shepherds of the world and all that, and not given sanctions to all these countries we don't like, maybe we could have, we could have had world reserve currency for another couple hundred years, but I don't see that happening anymore. I think we've taken advantage, and it's unfortunate. I still love this country, don't get me wrong, but you got to think about these things. And in private money, which is what we're doing, like you got guys like Friedrich Hayek and Milton Friedman talked about, these private monies. That's what we're doing now, is money that will compete. And when money competes, they're not going to inflate your money because you'll go somewhere else. So at the end of the day, the consumer will get all the benefits of competition. In any transaction, there's two parts of it. There's the money, the currency, and then there's the commodity. If I buy a orange, there's my money, and then there's the orange. And the orange is mostly free market, for the most part. And all the goods we have are generally free market in America, but the currency is not, right? It's a monopoly. And so we're like half of all the economy is monopolized. So we need to open it up to free money. And I think that, and that's why we see like senators in the US and congressmen, they're supporting this, because Bitcoin and crypto is freedom. It's democracy. That's what it is. It's open democracy. It's decentralization. America was one of the greatest examples of decentralization ever in the history of the world, and that's why we're so strong, because we've decentralized. Because that's why we have the Senate and House of Representatives, and the White House, and we have the Supreme Court, and all these different things that separate power. That's a good thing, and Americans should embrace this. Mm-hmm. And the world should embrace this, and they will.
Mm-hmm. They will. And I think one point you mentioned that I thought was really interesting. It's like, the sort of well, I love America, but I'm going to go and talk about why it's bad. It's like, well, that's why it's so great, because you can. And like, we have to be critical of our governments and systems that we don't, think are right, in order to make them better. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of what we're doing here. We're looking at the way that financial products and services are created, formed, and distributed to users. And we're saying, wait a minute, there's a better way, and it's inclusive, and it's, user owned, and everyone should be able to participate. And yeah, so that's really interesting. I think, I guess we'll see what happens with the dollar and where that evolves, but it's hard to imagine that the crypto space doesn't start rivaling, the global, money supplies around the world.
I think Bitcoin is already, last I saw, it was like the number 7 currency. I think it might have got to like number 3 or something at one point. I don't quote that, but it's getting really high on that. Like when you look at like, M1, money supplies. And I mean, the ultimate is it will reach number 1. There's no doubt in my mind about it. And the overall crypto economy.
The question is, will there be more WBTC or more on Polygon, or more LBTC on the Lightning Network? And probably not even going to be close, because Polygon's going to just, what happened? Lightning Network.
I don't know, man. I really don't. I love Lightning Network. I'm a huge fan. I was one of the first, I forget, it was one of the first 500 nodes or 1,000 nodes or something on the Lightning Network. I have a screenshot somewhere, but I'm a huge fan of the Lightning Network. But it's not getting adoption as fast as we'd like to see. It's picking up lately, especially with the El Salvador stuff. And I think Lightning Network will be great. But the coolest thing about Bitcoin is it can have many layer 2s, right? So Ethereum is a layer 2 for Bitcoin.
Yeah, it
right?
is.
And actually, Polygon is a layer 3 for Bitcoin.
Right.
So think about that, right? You have Bitcoin. You can move it over to Ethereum as a layer 2, and then Polygon is a layer 2 of Ethereum. So it's a layer 3 of Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Right? It is. So it's really cool. So you can trade Bitcoin for, sub penny on Quickswap.
Right. Yeah, for our viewers out there, go to Telex, Ecosystem Assets and Protocols, and learn about what Wrap Bitcoin is, WBTC. It's a sort of tokenized representation of Bitcoin on Ethereum. It's had major traction, and is one of the first launch markets on Exchange on Quickswap. So, yeah, how should the community, sort of think about the Quick token, and how can they participate, and what's the long-term design objective of the Quick token?
So you can look at a Quick token in different ways. I mean, at its core, it's a governance token. And through the Dragon's Lair, you can stake your Quick and earn a portion of the trading fees on the DEX, which is pretty cool. So you have the liquidity providers earn a portion like we discussed earlier, and then you've got people who hold the governance token and participate and help support the network in that way that can earn a portion of the fees too. The trading fees get converted to Quick on the open market. So that's a cool little thing. So there's constantly Quick being bought on the open market to be distributed into the Dragon's Lair. We're going to be doing some upgrades to that soon that will be really cool. I can't say what they are yet, but we're working on some cool stuff there. Yeah, and you can also use Quick as a sort of medium of exchange on the DEX. So there's many pairs that are Quick, like Quick Tel is a pair, and so you can take your Quick and pair it with your Tel and put it on Quickswap, or you'll be able to do that through Telex directly now, which is very cool. And on the back end, it'll be going through our exchange, which is just as a side note, is such a cool thing that in crypto you could do this. You can have back end liquidity providers that people don't even really need to know they're using them. It's just like people don't know, that they're using, the lower layers of the internet, right? Like nobody has to understand how any of this work, how packets work, or any of this stuff, TCP/IP and all that. And so in the future, people won't really need to know they're using Quickswap or Uniswap on the back end, or even Aave on the back end. Like you can have an app like yours, or your Bank of America account could have borrowing and lending, and people don't really need to know what the core protocol is that's powering it necessarily.
They definitely don't know where their money's going. All they know is that they put it in the bank and they think it's sitting there. Well, it's like, no, actually, like 85+% of it's being lent out to some guys taking risks. It's kind
of exactly. Yeah, when you put your money in Bank of America now, you don't know where it is, and you don't really care because you trust Bank of America or whatever. Now, hopefully, we can get away from those systems of trust, and people will trust. I guess it's still in a way trust in the code, right? But I trust math and code a lot more than I trust, companies and humans, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible, especially like on Polygon, where when you just, jump in and you can just start using the stuff and moving your money, that sort of liberating feeling of being like, wait a second, I just transferred my money on my own to someone else, or I traded it, and I didn't ask for permission. No one custodied it. Happened.
You've never met them. You have no idea who they are.
And you don't need to, because, it works. And like in that same way, I always sort of encourage my friends who try and reach out and learn about crypto. It's like the users will always have this asymmetric information advantage that is sitting at anyone's fingertips at all times. All they have to do is turn it on and, dive into the matrix, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is, there's really no better way to learn about this stuff than there is, than by using it. And so, that's an incredibly exciting thing, is this, idea that with the Tel Quick pair, there are native Quick swappers, Dragonites out there who only own Quick. There are native Telcoiners who only own Tel. And, with the launch of that market, they'll be able to seamlessly swap and, participate across each other's ecosystems. So that's really fun. And, I hope we can build a really solid bridge between our communities. I guess the one thing that would be fun to launch is like the list of double incentivized markets. It's like, how often have you seen a system where you can capture fees that typically only go to financial institutions that hold your money for you, to, you know, also earning the native, you know, token of the platform you're on and another token. You know, you've got three forms of yield now if you're mining on Telex Quickswap pairs.
Yeah, yeah, you'll get your Tel rewards, your Quick rewards, and your trading fees.
It's incredible. I mean, when has anyone ever seen anything like that? It's really fun
Yeah.
to be a part of that, and you know, great to see our sort of engineering teams get together and figure out how is that possible, you know, and so next week, guys, we are launching staking starts. It goes live on Telex and on QuickSwap. You can use either UI to stake your liquidity provider tokens. If you want to provide liquidity, though, you'll need to go to the QuickSwap interface. And make sure you go through the Telex, you know, document pages and really learn about how this stuff works. There are risks. There's tons of risks. It's your money. You know, you're responsible for it. This stuff has no middleman. You really have to be careful and just learn about how it works. But you know, hopefully we can you know, get the whole world, you know, providing liquidity to markets that power products they use, you know, in their daily lives. And like we've been saying with Telex, like we kind of had like a moment where we're like, wait a second. So if you provide liquidity to a market that powers remittances, and you also send through that, you're paying yourself, you know? So this idea of like pay yourself, um, you know, it's just going to be really exciting to see us bring it to the world. But anyways, yeah. So I guess Tell USDC, Tell Quick, and Tell ETH will earn double incentives, both Tell and Quick, starting next Wednesday. And then we have let's see, Tell Aave, Tell Matic, Tell WBTC. Just on Telex, we'll be earning Tell incentives. And, you know, this stuff is really data driven, guys, in terms of, you know, what's the activity on a market. You know, QuickSwap doesn't just go out and say, we're going to just like throw tokens at this. You know, it's, if there's activity, there's volume, there's new liquidity, you know, their data says that this is a suitable amount of incentives per pool. And so, you know, we're all kind of on the same radar with them now, and that's really exciting and building products. But you know, it comes down to the economic activity at the end of the day. So, you know, it'd be fun to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time analyzing data. It's a big part of it.
Do you think that, so you, I mean, that's a lot of work to sort of every week, you know, adjust the incentives for it. What's the design idea there in terms of weekly, and also, you know, the idea of immediate vesting?
I don't follow. What's the question?
So you can earn, so when you know, each week you guys sort of allocate incentives based off of the liquidity and the volume for each pair.
And other factors, but yeah, those are the primary factors. Yeah.
Do you expect to continue doing weekly updates to that, or do you think you'll extend it out farther?
For now, we want to stay agile
Mm-hmm.
to respond to different market forces and to kind of, you know, when we give rewards, if there's not a lot of volume or liquidity on it, then we can reduce them. If there is lots of activity on it, we can increase them. There's so many factors. So right now it's good for us to stay agile.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we make so many changes every week. It's a lot of work. It would be a lot less work if we did it like once a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some other protocols do that, but doing it once a week gives us a lot more flexibility, and we can really target things and dial things in, and you know, do what we think the market is seeking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exciting in terms of, you know, you have a network that's decentralized, people are providing a service to it, but you know, unlike some systems that, you know, for their own reasons are designed to be very specific, you know, when you have a system like QuickSwap that's, you know, data driven, the ability to target, you know, markets and really sort of, you know, drive liquidity and volume. It's exciting to see that, and yeah, looking forward to seeing how it evolves.
Yeah, our strategy changes constantly, and we're just evolving and trying to find the best way to. I mean, at the end of the day, that's our goals are to for the exchange, is to grow liquidity, grow volume, even volume more than liquidity, because a lot of exchanges target like wasted liquidity, like non-functional liquidity that doesn't have a lot of volume. So for us, it's important that what's the point of having liquidity if people aren't using it? So we're really focused on that, bringing in users. And so like everything we do, there's a lot we do, but it all kind of comes back to that, how we bring more users, more volume, more liquidity, and like every day that's our focus.
Very awesome.
And it's worked pretty well so far. Part of it is we were in the right place at the right time with Polygon. And we did things the right way, the fair way, with not raising funds and giving all the benefits to the community, so the community trusts us. That was very helpful. But a lot of it was being right place at the right time. Polygon took off and we were there. I mean, I guess you could call it luck, but I like the phrase luck is preparation meets opportunity. And so, we were here fighting for Polygon for years. And, so we happened to kind of be there when it took off, right? We had our investment thesis and we knew it would take off. And, in the worst times of Polygon, the Matic days when it had dropped, a huge amount, and there was all this crazy FUD, we were there supporting, and we never left, and we stuck with it. And now clearly, Polygon has done the most amazing things for the ecosystem. And I think most people probably would agree that it's one of the most trending, most important things happening in the industry right now is the Polygon, scaling Ethereum. And you can see how the gas fees on ETH have gone down. Yeah. A lot of that is because a lot of the traffic has been relieved to Polygon. And so now it's very similar to what they're doing with Bitcoin and Lightning. The highest economic value transactions can stay on the main chain, but the lower value transactions, so like on Quickswap, we see lots of 50-cent, $5, whatever transactions, but we have a ton of them, right? We have over 500,000 transactions a day, which is more than almost all other dexes on L1, probably more than all other L1 dexes combined, just on Quickswap. So, they're not as high average value as like on Uniswap, for example, but that's why you keep the large transactions for the whales can stay on Ethereum. And then, this is more for kind of the people that's what they're doing with Bitcoin, right? It's kind of becoming a settlement layer. Mm-hmm. So Ethereum L1 is kind of becoming more of a settlement layer. And then the L2s are where a lot of the kind of smaller economic activity is going to happen.
Yeah, we were watching, this sort of L2 space, because it was very apparent after DeFi summer that, we're not going to be able to look our customers in the eyes and say we're launching fast and affordable financial products, and then they have to pay $125 to trade and send money. But now they're going to be able to send money a whole lot smarter on Polygon, and so it's very exciting. I think that it should be interesting to see, how this, ecosystem expands. What do you sort of attribute the fact that Polygon, has really garnered Ethereum alignment? It's really garnered a real, Ethereum layer 2 ecosystem. Whereas if you look at the other networks in the space, like, let's say a Binance Smart Chain, those you very infrequently see many Ethereum natives go there. Like if they do, it's maybe I don't know. It's just hasn't really been, in my view. I couldn't see myself going over there anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything positive or negative about maybe another chain, but I will say that I think Binance Chain, and they recognize it, they are more centralized, right? And they a lot of the values, I think, of the Ethereum core community have not carried over there. The people that have left, I mean, they were more the mercenary type. Like they'll just jump ship and go to wherever they can make quick money. But and also in their defense, when Ethereum gas fees got high, they didn't have a lot of options, right? And or they didn't know that they had options because people just didn't realize that Polygon was here working. Polygon's been working for a long time. It just didn't get the traction it's gotten lately. But I think Polygon really aligns themselves with the Ethereum community's, ethos, values, and I think it's important that we never, wanted to compete with Ethereum. It was always, we are here to support Ethereum. I mean, in narrative and in action, and that's really important. Like, for example, Polygon is going to be adding Ethereum as an option for paying gas in the future.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
That's incredible, and so yeah, I mean, and decentralization is just such an important thing to the Polygon ecosystem. I watched a Vitalik interview recently where he was talking about Polygon, and while I think it seems that he sees some of these other options like optimistic rollups and ZK rollups as possibly better technology in some ways. I would argue against that, and it's kind of a you gain some things and you lose some things. But I think I liked that on this podcast he was talking about. Matic did kind of the quick and dirty solution. They got something out to market that's working, but now they can continue to build up the security and just everything like the SDKs and the usability and all that. But they got something out before people needed it actually, right? Like they, I don't even know when do we. Polygon's been out for a couple of years, whereas like optimistic rollups still not out or not really out in production. So Polygon made it to market, and that's a very important thing. Being first to market, first really usable to market is important. Like we saw Optimism recently, which I support optimistic rollups, but like Optimism told everyone they were going to release, and then they delayed it by a lot, by months and maybe more because they didn't have the tooling ready. They didn't understand that like Polygon had been building the tooling and getting, all the things from like a block explorer to, good multi-sig integration and all the tools that an ecosystem needs. It's a lot, man. There's a lot of building and Legos that happen to build the Lego castle, and
hundreds of them, and most people
hundreds of them. Yeah. Yeah. And so, and including like Quickswap is, like you need a DEX, you need like I said, multi-sig and all these, the tooling and all that. So, and then it just builds on top of each other, Aave is one of these Legos, right? And so, I don't think they realized how much was needed to actually launch this thing. Now they had to kind of, they had to delay, and they'll get it out, and I think it'll be good. But meanwhile, we're reaping the benefits of being the only real usable adopted layer 2 on Ethereum. Period. Really, it's kind of crazy when you see things like Loopring with like a few million in volume a day, and you look at their market cap of like I don't know what it is now, but much higher than Quickswap's, even though we're doing like up to 100 times their volume daily. It's kind of crazy. So anyways, I probably shouldn't talk about price, but yeah, so Polygon's growing, we're growing with it. It's exciting.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I'm excited to hear what the community has for us in terms of their questions. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's been great. I'm very excited for this partnership, and just in general, what you guys are doing for the developing world. It's a very important thing that this world needs.
Appreciate that, my man. Thank you.